don't waste no crumbs on my floor, son. You understand? Hey, shalom, everybody. How y'all doing? Welcome back to the next edition of Reading with Shilo.
Reading with DJ. Reading with Mama.
Nah, boy, get out. We are here for Chapter 8 of Created to Be His Helpmeet by Miss Debi Pearl. Debi Pearl, Chapter 8, Wisdom to Understand Your Man, which I believe was a good chapter. So we're going to jump into it and see, though. Excuse me, son. Pick my things up off the floor, please. Yes, sir. Put the well up there so I can finish carving it later. Excuse me, son. Don't throw it in the trash. All right. Put my transformer up. Thank you. Thank you, son. So I hope that y'all have been getting something from the chapters of this book that we have been reading. I know I have, definitely. Definitely questions to ask women who claim that they want to be married, you know, if they even look at marriage in the light of being a helpmeet. Do we look at marriage in the light of being, you know, the way God said you're supposed to be looking at being a wife? So let's dive in, man, and hopefully we can find something that we can learn and grow from to help push us through and help us along our paths, our journeys, through our trials, so we don't make too many errors and mistakes. Errors and mistakes. Mistakes. Like a minion, with the letter M, mistakes.
What I build that?
Huh?
How did they build that?
Build what?
How did they build that? Mistakes.
The mistakes. All right. Let that read, all right? You ready? All right. Chapter 8 of Created to Be His Helpmeet by Debi Pearl. Wisdom to Understand Your Man. A wise woman learns to adapt to her husband. A wise woman learns to adapt to her husband. 3 kinds of men. Oh, yeah, this was a good chapter. 3 kinds of men. Men are not all the same. I have become aware that there are basically 3 types of men. The different types are just as marked in 1-year-olds as they are in adult men. It seems that God made each male to express one side of his triad nature. No single man completely expresses the well-rounded image of God. If a man were all 3 types at the same time, he would be the perfect man. But I have never met, heard of, or read in a book of history or fiction of a man who is the proper balance of all 3. Certainly, Jesus was the perfect balance. Most men are a little of the 3, but tend to be dominant in one. And all the training and experiences of life will never successfully make a man into a different type of man. There is nothing clumsier or more pathetic than a man trying to act differently from who he is. Say it again, sir.
Watch a truck on the TV?
No, sir. Not right now. As we review the types, we will probably readily identify your husband and be able to see where you have been a curse or a blessing to him. By the time a young woman gets married, she has developed a composite image of what her husband ought to be like. The men she is known and the characters in books and movies provide each woman with a concept of the perfect man. Poor guys. Our preconceived ideas make it tough on them. They are never perfect, far from it. God gave each one a nature that in part is like himself, but never complete. When you add in the factor that all men are fallen creatures, it makes a girl wonder why she would ever want to tie her life to one of these sons of Adam. But God made us ladies to have this unreasonable desire to be needed by a man, and our hormones are working strenuously to bring us together. When a girl certainly finds herself permanently wed to a man who is not like she thinks he ought to be, rather than adapt to him, she usually spends the rest of their marriage, which may not be very long, trying to change him into what she thinks her man ought to be. Most young girls are married only a short time when they make the awful discovery that they might have gotten a lemon. Rather than bemoan your fate, ask God for wisdom. Rather than to bemoan your faith, ask God for wisdom. Wisdom is knowing what you bought when you married that man and learning to adapt to him as he is, not as you want him to be. Now, there's a heavy statement right there. Miss Debi made a heavy statement right there. Wisdom is knowing what you bought when you married that man and learning to adapt to him as he is, not as, adapt to him as he is, not as you want him to be. Men are not alike. Your husband most likely will not be like your father or brother or the man in your favorite romance novel. Our husbands are created in the image of God, and it takes all kinds of men to even come close to completing that image. No man is a perfect balance. If he were, he would be too divine to need you. God gives imperfect women to imperfect men so they can be heirs together of the grace of life and become something more together than either one of them would ever be alone. If you fight your husband's inadequacies or seek to be dominant where he is not, both of you will fail. If you love him and support him with his inadequacies and without taking charge, both of you will succeed and grow. The command man, first type of man, the command man, is your husband or your man, the command man. God is dominant, a sovereign, an all-powerful God. He is also visionary, omniscient, and desirous of carrying out his plans. And God is steady, the same yesterday and today and forever, our faithful high priest. Most men epitomize one of these three aspects of God. A few men are born with more than their share of dominance and, on the surface, a deficit of gentleness. They often end up in positions that command other men. We will call them command men. They are born leaders. They are often chosen by other men to be military commanders, politicians, preachers, and heads of corporations. Winston Churchill, George Patton, and Ronald Reagan are examples of dominant men. Since our world needs only a few leaders, God seems to limit the number of these commandments. Throughout history, men created in God the Father's image have all surrounded themselves with good men to help get the big jobs completed. Commandmen usually do more than is required of them. They are known for expecting their wives to wait on them hand and foot. A command man does not want his wife involved in any project that prevents her from serving him. Woo, woo. A command man does not want his wife involved in any projects that prevents her from serving him. If you are blessed to be married to a strong, forceful, bossy man as I am, then it is very important that you too learn how to make an appeal without challenging his authority. We will discuss how to make an appeal later on in this book. Command men have less tolerance, so they will often walk off and leave their clamoring wife before she has a chance to realize that she is even close to losing her marriage. By the time she realizes that there is a serious problem, she is already a divorced mother seeking help in how to raise her children alone. A woman can fight until she is blue in the face, yet the command man will not yield. He is not as intimate or vulnerable as the other men are in sharing his personal feelings or vocation with his wife. He seems to be sufficient unto himself. It is awful, but shut out. It is awful being shut out. A woman married to a command man has to earn her place in his heart by proving that she will stand by her man, faithful, loyal, and obedient. When she has won his confidence, he will treasure her to the extreme. Huh? He's done what?
He's done at the toilet.
All right. Thank you. All right, let me finish this page and I'll go to my son on the time. She is on call every minute of her day. Her man wants to know where she is, what she is doing, and why she is doing it. He corrects her without thought. For better or for worse, it is his nature to control. I'm definitely part command man. Command man. Get over here! Let me go run get my boy off the toilet and we'll come back and finish reading about the command man. Command the man up. Come here.
Me.
Let's go get your brother off the toilet. Trust in your room and go get me a bottle of water after you're done, please. All right, excuse me, my bad. Apologies. I'm back. To finish up chapter 8. The command man is what we're talking about. Let's finish talking about the command man. Or reading about the command man. Whew. A woman married to a command man wears a heavier yoke than most women, but it can be very rewarding. In a way, oh, thank you so very much. Thank you. Hey, man, thank you for listening. Good job, son. Very good job. Keep it up. You're very welcome, sir. Keep up the good work. In a way, her walk as a helpmeet is easier because there is never any possibility of her being in control. There are no gray areas. She always knows exactly what is required of her. Therefore, she has a calm sense of safety and rest. The command man feels it is his duty and responsibility to lead people, and so he does, whether they think they want him to lead or not. Amazingly, that this is what the public is most comfortable with. Very few people have enough confidence to shirk as God created these king-like men. Their road is not easy, for James said, "My brethren, be not many masters, knowing that we shall receive the greater condemnation." In James chapter 3, verses 1. On 9/11, when the World Trade Center was destroyed, another plane flying over Pennsylvania was being hijacked by other terrorists. Mr. Todd Beamer was on that plane. It was his voice we all heard saying the now famous line, "Let's roll." He must have been a strong Mr. Command man. He and others like him took control of the desperate situation and saved many other lives while sacrificing their own. It could have been a terrible mistake, but Mr. Beamer evaluated the situation, made a decision, and then acted upon it. He knew that the lives of all those people were in his hands. It was a heavy responsibility, yet he was willing to do what the man's got to do. You will remember how strong and queenly, how strong. You will remember how strong and queenly his young widow seemed when we watched her on TV after the attacks. A good Mr. Command sees the bigger picture and strives to help the greater number, even if it costs his life and the lives of those he loves. If he is an honest man, he will take financial loss in order to help lead those who need him. It's getting there, son. It's getting there. But in the end, he will usually come out on top. If he is not an honest man, he will be selfish and use the resources of others to further his own interests. A king wants a queen, which is why a man in command wants a faithful wife to share his fame and glory. Without a woman's admiration, his victories are mute. If a wife learns early to enjoy the benefits of taking the second seat, and if she does not take offense to his headstrong aggressiveness, she will be the one sitting at his right side being adored, because this kind of man will totally adore his woman and exalt her. She will be his closest and sometimes his only confidant. Over the years, the command man can become more yielding and gentle. Hey, I am reading. What are you supposed to do while I'm reading? Okay, so I need you to do that, all right, son? Especially if you're going to be in here with me. Well, I want you to be. What? I need you to be. What?
You want me tired.
Why? I need you to be quiet. Good job. All right.
One.
Over the years, the command man can become more yielding and gentle. His wife will discover secret portals to his heart. If you are married to a king, honor and reverence is something you must give him on a daily basis if you want him to be a benevolent, honest, strong, and fulfilled man of God. He has the potential to become an amazing leader. Never share him and do not belittle him. Never shame him and do not belittle him or ignore his accomplishments. If the wife of a command man resists his control, he will readily move forward without her. If he is not a principled Christian, he will allow the marriage to come to divorce. Like King Ahasuerus of Persia, if she defies him, he will replace her and not look back. If his Christian convictions prevent him from divorcing, he will remain stubbornly in command, and she will be known as a miserable old wretch. If the command man has not developed working skills and thus accomplishes little, he will have the tendency to tell stories about himself and brag until people are sick of him. If he has left his wife and lost his children, thus having no legitimate kingdom of his own, he will be obnoxiously gorillas. There you go, gorillas. A command man who has gone bad is likely to be abusive. It is important to remember that much of how a command man reacts depends on how his wife's reverence towards him. When a command man, lost or saved, is treated with honor and reverence, a good helpmeet will find that her man will be wonderfully protective and supportive. In most marriages, the strife is not because the man is cruel or evil. It is because he expects obedience, honor, and reverence and is not getting it. Let me mark that one. Let me down. In most marriages, the strife is not because the man is cruel or evil. It is because he expects obedience, honor, and reverence and is not getting it. Thus, he reacts badly. When a wife plays her part as a helpmeet, the command man will respond differently. Of course, there are a few men who are so cruel and violent that even when the wife is a proper helpmeet, he will still physically abuse her or the children. In such cases, It would be the duty of the wife to alert the authorities so that they might become the arm of the Lord to do justice. Mr. Command will not take out the trash. As a general rule, he will not clean up the mess at the trash area. He may organize and command someone else to do it. Any woman trying to force Mr. Command into becoming a nice trash man will likely end up alone, trashed by her man. Mr. Command will want to talk about his plans, ideas, and finished projects. He will be very objective, very unemotional, and he will not enjoy small talk. His vision is like a man looking for a high mountain. He sees the distant goal. He will expect his wife to help him remember individual needs. Mr. Command Man will be most uncomfortable and at a loss when dealing with the sick, helpless, and dying. Where there is no hope, there will be no need for a command man. A born leader is a man who can, when necessary, adapt principles or rules to circumstances for the greater good of the greatest number of people. Mr. Visionary. Mr. Visionary. Good job, good job. God is a visionary as seen in his person, the Holy Spirit. He made some men in the image of that part of his nature. Prophets, be they true or false, are usually of this type. Some of you are married to men who are shakers, changers, and dreamers. These men get the entire family upset about peripheral issues, such as, do you believe in Christmas? Should we use state marriage licenses? Should a Christian opt out of social security system? The issues may be serious and worthy of one's commitment, but in varying degrees, these men have tunnel vision, tenaciously focusing on single issues. They will easily pick up and relocate without any idea of what they are going to do for a living at their new location. They are often the church splitters and the ones who demand doctrinal purity and proper dress and conduct. Like a prophet, they call people to task for their inconsistencies. If they are not wise, they can be fools who push their agendas, forcing others to go their way. One visionary will campaign for legalization of pot, while another will be an activist to make abortions illegal. Most will just sit around the house and complain, but in their souls, they are visionaries. Visionaries are often gifted men or inventors, and I am sure it was men of these caliber who conquered the Wild West. Though they would not have been the farmers who settled it. Today, visionary men are street preachers, political activists, organizers, and instigators of any frontline social issue. They love confrontation and hate the status quo. Why leave it to the way it is when you can change it? They are the men who keep the rest of the world from getting stagnant or dull. The visionary is consumed with the need to communicate with his words, music, writing, voice, art, or action. He is the voice crying out in the wilderness, striving to change the way humanity is behaving or thinking. I think I'm some of that too. Oh yeah, I'm part command man and part visionary. Part visionary. Part visionary. Part command man and part visionary. No, sir, I'm not done. I'm still reading. I'm reading about the visionary man. Yes, sir, the visionary man. All right, let me see. Where was I? Oh, up here. Good intentions don't always keep visionaries from causing great harm. They can stir up pudding and end up with the toxic waste if they are not wise. The unwise wife can add to the poison with negative words, or she can, with simple words of caution, bring attention to the goodness of the pudding and the wisdom in leaving it alone. Every Mr. Visionary needs a good, wise, prudent, stable wife who has a positive outlook on life. If you are married to one of these fellows, expect to be rich or poor, rarely middle class. He may invest everything in a chance and lose it all or make a fortune, but he will not do well working 8 to 5 in the same place for 30 years and then retiring to live the good life. If he works a regular job, he may either not show up half the time or he will work like a maniac 80 hours a week. No, 80 hours a week and love every minute. He may purchase an alligator farm in Florida or a ski resort in Colorado. Or he may buy an old house trailer for $150 with hopes of fixing it up and selling it for $10,000, only to find out that it is so deteriorated that it can't be moved. He will then have his wife and all the kids help him tear it down, tear the top off, and carry the scraps to the dump, saving the appliances in the already crowded garage, so he can make the farm trailer out of the axles. Now that he has a farm trailer and no animals, expect him to get the deal on 3 old sick cows, and he may never be rich in money, but he will be rich in experiences. Come to think of it, maybe my husband is not 100% Mr. Command Man because he seems quite a bit like Mr. Visionary. I remember on more than one occasion helping him tear down someone's old barn in order to drag the junk home to fill up our old barn. Remember, most men are a mixture of types, but usually stronger in one. The wife of Mr. Visionary should be just a little reckless and blind. Yeah, be quiet. You have to be quiet. The wife of Mr. Visionary should be just a little bit reckless and blind in one eye if she is going to enjoy the ride. If this is your man, you need to learn 2 very important things beyond how to make an appeal. Learn how to be flexible and learn how to always be loyal to your man. You will be amazed at how much happier you will be and how much fun life can be if you learn to just go with the flow, his flow. Life will become an adventure. You will actually begin to feel sorry for the gals married to a stick in the mud, steady type. And once you get into your head that your husband does not have to be right for you to follow him, you will finally be able to say bye-bye to your overwrought parents, even when they are screaming at you that you married a crazy man. People looking on will marvel at that you are able. Yeah, I'm messing up. People looking on will marvel that you are able to love and appreciate your husband, but you will know better because you will see this greatness. Get out of the way. Greatness is a state of soul, not certain accomplishments. Thomas Edison, though not recognized as such, was great after his 999th failure to make the light bulb. The Wright brothers were great when they neglected their lucrative occupation of fixing bicycles and wasted time trying to make one of them fly. If the light bulb had never worked and the plane had never flown and no one remembered their names today, they would have been the same men and their lives would have still been just as full and their days just as challenging. Did Edison's wife think him great when he used his last dime on another failed idea? If she didn't, just think what she missed. The visionary man needs his woman's support, and he will appreciate it when it is freely given. Without her, he feels alone. This guy will be a little hard to live with at first. Big, wild fights are usual beginnings of a nice, normal girl. Are usually the beginning. If a nice, normal girl who had a Mr. Steady Daddy marries one of the weird ones, they will either have a bitter divorce. She divorces him in the first few years, or she will decide to learn to appreciate him because he is really rather lovable. I get very few letters from wives married to these high-strung, going to reinvent the wheel men. I do get a lot of letters from the mother-in-laws asking us to write and straighten out their son-in-laws. Some of these guys talk with glowing enthusiasm and animation. Usually they enjoy hashing over ideas, plans, and dreams. Excuse me. Man, stop. Stop trying to turn my page, man. Some of these guys talk with glowing enthusiasm. Oh, my bad. If you are married to one, he loves to tell you about his newest idea, and he wants your enthusiastic support, not a critique of his idea. He will look at his idea more critically later, but for the moment, the idea itself is invigorating to him. He will have 1,000 ideas. Come on, man. Come on. What you gonna do? There you go. He will have 1,000 ideas for every project he attempts, and he will try to make them he will try many that will never finish. Move. Get your butt up. Get your butts up. Move. Come on. 1, 2. Move. Thank you. He will have 1,000 ideas for every project he attempts, and he will try many that he will never finish, and he will finish some that are worthless, and you knew it all along. Remind him that the next time he has an idea, and you will destroy your marriage, but you won't change him. He will share his dumb ideas with someone else. Learn to enjoy the trip. Several years back, a newlywed couple decided to take a bicycle road trip for their honeymoon. They had the map all worked out and the bikes and camping gear ready. After riding for a couple of days, the young wife noticed that her good husband was going the wrong way. She stopped him and tried to show him on the map that he had veered from off the course. She had always been endowed with a natural ability to read maps and knew exactly where they were. He was not so gifted and argued that she was dead wrong and instead that they were headed the right way. Later that day, when he did discover that he had indeed taken the wrong road, he brushed it off and blamed the signs or gave some plausible reason. Again, he took the wrong road and she argued with him. He kept correcting their course, but they were not getting anywhere by the shortest route. She let him know his error. That part of the honeymoon was not very honeyed. Nothing would change his mind. He knew he was right, and if not exactly right, then he was as right as could be expected under the circumstances, and criticism was not welcome. What could she do? The young wife was not pleased with the way they were relating, and she reasoned to herself that this could become the pattern for the rest of their lives. As she brooded on the matter, it occurred to her that it was very important to him to be right and to be in charge, and it really didn't matter which road they took. They were taking this trip to be together, not to get somewhere in particular. God, in his mercy and grace, gave this sweet young wife a new heart. She decided to follow her husband down any road he chose without question or second guessing. So she cheerfully began to enjoy the beautiful day and the glory of being young and in love as she continued to pedal her bike down a road that was taking them to where every marriage ought to go, even though it was not according to the map. Yes, sir. It is dark outside. Go cut the light on in the front, please. This little lady is married to a 100% visionary man. She started her marriage right, following him wherever he led, regardless of whether she thought it was the right direction or not. She has been flexible, and is enjoying her ride. Someday, when her husband is assured that he can trust her with his heart, he will let her be his navigator and still take the credit for it. The moral of the story is the way you think determines how you will feel, and how you feel influences the way you all act, the way you will act. I think that's very good advice for the visionary. Very good advice for the command man, and very good advice for the visionary. And I think I'm a little bit of both. because the stuff it says about proving to the man, that you're going to be there, going with the ideas and not being having so much criticism on them, the excitement behind certain things that a person does, having that other person's excitement there makes it a lot better, makes it easier to keep pushing, makes you want to push more. Having somebody else just excited in the things you are doing. If you are married to a visionary man, learn to enjoy the trip. For if he ever does make the better light bulb, he will want you to be the one who turns it on for him the first time in public. It will be your face he looks into to see the marvel of what the great thing he has done. You are the most important fan. When you know your man really needs you, you can be happy with just about anything. Over time, this type of man will become more practical. If you are a young wife married to a man whom your mama thinks is totally crazy, then you may be married to Mr. Visionary. Right now, purpose in your heart to be loyal to him and to be flexible. Then you let your dreamer dream. Lean back and enjoy the ride. It should prove interesting. Not many women want that, boy. They don't want to sit back and enjoy the ride. The world needs the visionary man, for he is the one who seeks out hypocrisy and injustice and slays the dragons. He calls himself and those around him to a higher standard. He knows how to do nearly everything and is readily willing to advise others. In time, he will be quite accomplished in more than one thing. Visionary man will take out the trash if he remembers it, but he may also end up inventing a way whereby the trash takes out itself, or is turned into an energy source, or he may just waste a lot of time building a cart for it to be taken out. He would not mind cleaning up if he notices it needs doing, but he may get so deeply involved that he decides to paint while he is sweeping, and then switch projects before he gets finished painting, and he will likely be irritated when his wife nags him about it. Visionary men will talk and talk and talk to his honey if she approves of him. He will be subjective, thinking about feelings, moods, and spiritual insights. One of his greatest needs will be for his wife to think objectively, proven truth, and use common sense, which will help keep his feet flying too far from solid ground. He spends his life looking through a telescope or a microscope, and he will need to be stunned at what he sees or thinks he sees. Others do not seem to notice or care about it. Every small issue will become mind consuming, and he will need his wife to casually talk about the big picture and possible end results of relationships, finances, or health if he continues to totally focus on his present interests. His sweetheart needs to stay in a positive state of mind, yet never jump into his make-believe world, trying to be too much of a cheerleader on dead-end issues. Let him burn out on things that are not wise, but don't throw water on his fire. Let him find his own balance through bumping his into hard realities. The Old Testament prophets of God most surely have been the visionary types. Remember Elijah, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel, and all their trials. A visionary man is an innovator and provoker. He is a point man, trailblazer, and a voice that gets things done. He will start and keep the party going until the command man gets there to lead on. Visionary man's focus is so intense that matters can easily be blown out of proportion. A wife must guard against negative conversation about people. An idle conversation by her can bring about the end of a lifelong friendship. This is true with all men, but especially with Mr. Visionary. Search your heart and discover your motive in what you are saying about people. What is your intent when you speak? To build him up and give him joy, or to build up yourself and make him think that you alone are perfect? If you mention people and make them look a little bad and yourself a little taken for granted, your husband may get the idea that friends and family are treating you unfairly, and he may become withdrawn and suspicious. You could unwillingly render your husband unteachable. If you want your husband to grow into confident, outgoing man of God, then he needs to have a clear conscience toward his friends and family. No, sir. Not right now, sir. Not right now, sir. Not right now, sir. It's almost time for bedtime.
Time for bedtime.
Yes, sir. It's almost time for bedtime, sir. No, that was a bad one. Good job. Not right now, sir. God says a woman's conversation can win her lost husband. In the same vein, a woman's idle, negative conversation can cripple a strong man and cause him to become an angry, confrontational, divisive man. Likewise, ye wives, be in subjection to your own husbands, that if any obey not the word, they also may without the word be won by the conversation of the wives, while they behold your chaste conversation coupled with fear. 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 1 through 2. Mr. Visionary needs a lady who does not take offense easily. She needs to be tough. He needs his lady to be full of life and joy. A visionary man is not equipped to be a comforter for himself or anyone else. His lady would need to learn to tuck in that quivering lip, square those shoulders, and put on that smile. Mr. Visionary can be a leader, but because of his tunnel vision, his leadership will have a more narrow focus. Ooh, Mr. Visionary, Mr. Command Man, and Mr. Visionary. We're almost done. We got 3 pages left. 3 pages front and back. Mr. Visionary. Mr. Steady. God is as steady as an eternal rock, caring, providing, and faithful, like a priest, like Jesus Christ. He created many men in that image. We will call Mr. Steady in the middle, not giving to extremes. The steady man does not make snap decisions or spend his last dime on a new idea. And he doesn't try to tell other people what to do. He avoids controversy. He doesn't invent the light bulb like Mr. Visionary, but he will be the one to build the factory and manage the assembly line that produces the light bulb and the airplane. He does not jump to the front of the plane to take a razor knife away from the terrorists, unless he is encouraged to do so by Mr. Command. He would never lead the revolution against the government or the church. He will quietly ignore hypocrisies in others. He will selfishly fight the wars that Mr. Visionary starts and Mr. Command leads. He builds the oil tankers, farms the soil, and quietly raises his family. As a general rule, he will be faithful till the day he dies in the same bed he has slept in for the last 40 to 50 years. Older women who are divorced and have learned by their mistakes know the value of peace and safety, and they will long for a nice steady man or his stature. Give me what you got. Or his stature. But such a man is rarely available. Unless his foolish wife has left him, this man is content with the wife of his youth. Joys and tribulations. Joys and tribulations. Being married to a steady man has its rewards and its trials. On the good side, your husband never puts undue pressure on you to perform miracles. He doesn't expect you to be his servant. You do not spend your days putting out emotional fires because he doesn't create tension in the family. You rarely feel hurried, pushed, pressured, or forced. The women married to visionary men look at you and wonder that your husband seems so balanced and stable. The wife of command men marvels at the free time you seem to have. If your dad happened to be a steady man, then chances are you will appreciate your husband's down-to-earth, practical life for the wonderful treasure it is. When you are married to a man who is steady and cautious, and you have a bit of impatient romantic in you, you may not see his worth and readily honor him. You may be discontent because he is slow and cautious to take authority and make quick decisions. A bossy woman sees her husband's lack of hasty judgment and calls her steady husband wishy-washy. His steadiness makes him the last to change. So he seems to be a follower because he is seldom out front forming up the truth. There is no exciting rush in him, just a slow, steady climb with no bells or whistles. You wish he would just make up his mind and that he would take the stand in the church. He seems to just let people use him. There are times. He seems to just let people use him. There are times you wish he would boldly tell you what to do so you would not have to carry all the burden of the decision making. Some women equate their husband's wise caution and lack of open passion as being unspiritual. His lack of spontaneity and open boldness may look like indifference to spiritual things. However, he is like deep, deep water. The very depth makes the movement almost imperceptible. Imperceptible. But it is nevertheless very strong. He will be confused with your unhappiness and try to serve you more, which may further diminish your respect for his masculinity. Disappointment and unthankfulness can make you wearier than any amount of duties. The trials he seems to cause you are really your discontent responses to what you consider to be his shortcomings. If you didn't attempt to change him into something other than what God created him to be, he would not cause you any grief. His very steadiness keeps him in his middle of the road course, and it will drive a controlling woman crazy. This is why many disgruntled ladies married to Mr. Steady fall victim to hormonal imbalance, physical illness, or emotional problems. When a woman is married to a bossy, dominant man, people marvel that she is willing to serve him without complaint. So she comes out looking like a wonderful woman of great patience and sacrifice. A woman married to an impulsive, visionary man who puts the family through hardships will stir amazement in everyone. How can she tolerate his weird ideas with such peace and joy? She comes out being a real saint, maybe even a martyr. But if you are married to a wonderful, kind, loving, serving man, and you are just a little bit selfish, then you are likely to end up looking like an unthankful shrew. He helps you, adores you, protects, is careful to provide for you, and you are still not satisfied. Shame on you. 1, 2, 3, family. One more time. Come on, man. 1, 2, 3, family. The foot washer. Yesterday, I used a water hose to wash the inside of the church outhouse. For you city girls, outhouse is a small hut sitting over a hole in the ground with a wooden floor and a seat with a hole in it. Before indoor plumbing, this was a typical toilet. The outhouse usually sat about 50 feet from the house. As you can imagine, outhouses stink. As I squirted water over the walls and potty, I was wishing Chuck was around. If there was a dirty job, a tiresome job, a job which most people will try to avoid, a job where there is no glory to be found, you can be sure that Chuck will be there, quietly taking responsibility. Our friend Chuck is a foot washer. His strength is best seen in what he does for others. When I read the story of Jesus washing the animal manure off of the disciples' feet, or calling the little children to come unto him, or feeding the 5,000, I think of Chuck. The disciples all wanted to be in charge, to be seen, to receive glory. But Christ spent most of his time with them, teaching them to be quiet servants, the works of a steady man. Man, stop. Jesus was a foot washer. In Christ's time, washing the feet of the travelers was a loathsome job that befell the lowest paid servant. Yet Jesus washed their feet as a testimony to them of what he values. If I then, your Lord and Master, have washed your feet, ye also ought to wash one another's feet. John chapter 13, verse 12. In effect, he was teaching them, if you want to be my disciple, then plan on spending your life cleaning up after folks, fixing the old lady's sink, and driving out of your way to give someone a ride to the church. Many women think of their pastors as mighty men of God, or their song leader as a spirit-filled man. Yet I suspect it all to be quite Mr. Steady, the quiet Mr. Steady type men who will be called the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. The steady man, the quiet man, the man who does not take control is not a man of little work. For Jesus exalted the common chores that are so often performed by the steady man. Mr. Steady can be a strong man of God. His strength is exercised as he quietly assumes responsibility that others usually shirk. If we as wives can only learn to honor the man God gave us, we would be blessed to see what a mighty man of God he could become. A glorious marriage is sometimes only an appreciation away. Ask God for wisdom to honor and appreciate your steady man. Even as the Son of Man came not to be ministered unto, but to minister, and to give his life a ransom for many. Matthew 20, verse 28. And there was also a strife among them, which of them should be accounted the greatest. And he said unto them, the kings of the Gentile exercise lordship over them, and they that exercise authority upon them are called benefactors. But ye shall not be so. But he that is greatest among you, let him be as the younger, and he that is chief as he that doth serve. For whether is greater, he that sitteth at meat, or he that serveth? Is not he that sitteth at meat? But I am among you that as he that serveth. Give me my water. You drinking all my water. There y'all go. Know your man. That was Luke chapter 22, verses 24 through 27. Know your man. Wives are very much flesh and blood as a young woman. We do not come to marriage with all the skills needed to make it start out good, let alone perfect. No thank you. Go put it in the trash. Thank you. When you come to know your man for whom God created him to be, you will stop trying to change him into what you think he should be. The key is to know your man. If he is Mr. Steady, you need to learn to be thankful and to honor him as the one created for you in the image of God. God's words in Hebrews chapter 13 and 8, Jesus Christ the same yesterday and today and forever. A man who is created steady brings peace and safety to a woman's soul. Her husband's gentleness is not a weakness, it is his strength. Your husband's hesitation is not indecision, it is cautious wisdom. Your husband's lack of deep spiritual conversation is not a lack of caring, it is simple, the cap on the mountain of intense emotions. If he ever speaks of how he does feel, he will most likely become teary. He wants to please you. Counsel in your heart of man. Counsel in the heart of man is like deep water, but a wife also, of understanding will draw it out. Proverbs chapter 20, verse 20, verse 5. You will not need to learn how to make an appeal to him because your husband is all too willing to hear you. If this describes your man, you need to learn how to stand still and listen. Then let God move your husband in his own good time. Ask God for wisdom and patience. Seek to always have a gentle spirit. Look up shamefacedness in the Bible and learn what it means. Pray for your husband to have wisdom. Stop expecting him to perform for you, to pray with the family, to speak out, in witnessing, or to take a bold stand at the church. Stop trying to stir him up to anger toward the children in order to get him to feel as though he understands how badly you are being treated. Let him be the one God made him to be, a still, quiet, thoughtful presence for you. Leave my trash alone. Command and visionary men understand and appreciate him, and they too lean on this type of man for stability. Learn to seek your husband's advice on what to do, and then give him time to answer, even if it means days or weeks. Show respect by asking him what areas he would like you to do some decision making. Many of these nice men prefer their wives to show some initiative. A command man tells you what to do and how to serve him, and a visionary man wants you to do what he is doing. A steady man likes a woman to walk beside him, yet grow in her own right before God and him. If you are married to a Mr. Steady, you need to get familiar with Proverbs 31 to know how to be an active helpmeet to your man. See pages 222. Your husband will enjoy and share your triumphs in business. He will be proud of your accomplishments. He will want you to use your natural skills, abilities, and drives. Your achievements will be an honor to him, but lazy slothfulness will greatly discourage him. Your wasting of time and spending money foolishly will weigh heavily on him, robbing him of his pride and pleasure in you. He needs a resourceful, hardworking woman with dignity and honor. It is important to Mr. Steady that his wife be self-sufficient and in all the mundane tasks of daily living. I think I'm a little bit of all three of them, man. I really think I'm a little bit of all three. No, sir, I'm not done, sir. I'm almost done, sir. I got 2 pages left, sir.
Are you done, Daddy?
No, sir, not yet, sir.
Are you done, Daddy?
Almost.
Are you done, Daddy?
Almost. Let me finish. Your husband will enjoy and share your triumphs in business. He will be proud of your accomplishments. He will want to use your natural skills, abilities, and drives. Your achievements will be an honor to him, but lazy slothfulness will greatly discourage him. Your wasting of time and spending money foolishly will weigh heavily on him, robbing him of his pride and his pleasure in you. He needs a resourceful, hardworking woman with dignity and honor. It is important to Mr. Steady that his wife be self-sufficient in all the mundane tasks of daily living. You must learn how to pay bills, make appointments, and entertain guests with the competence that brings him satisfaction. Your hobbies should be creative and useful, involving your children so that all of you are busy and productive every day. Your home should be clean and orderly so that his friends and business contacts will be impressed and at ease. Your skills and achievements are your husband's resume. If you are wise and competent, then he must be even more so. The onlooker will think. At the end of the day, Mr. Steady will enjoy weighing what he has accomplished with what you have accomplished and will rejoice in the value of having a worthy partner in the grace of life. These men can be some of the most important men in the church because their steadfastness is sure and their loyalty is strong. They make wise, well thought out decisions. They are rarely rash or foolish, although to their discredit, they will sometimes tolerate foolishness or error without dissent. Their children grow up to highly respect their gentle speaking dad. If mother has been negative towards dad, the adult children will strongly resent her to the point of disliking her. Typically, steady men do not become as well known as command or visionary men. They are not odd or standout men. They are not loud. They are neither irritating nor particularly magnificent. If they do rise to public notice, it will be because of an enormity of achievement or because they are trusted for their very visible traits of honesty and steadiness. Women and men alike envy and desire a command man. People are often drawn and compelled by the visionary, but the steady man is taken for granted. He is seldom a campaigner. He is needed, but not flashy enough to win the spotlight. He will never brag on himself and is typically very poor at selling himself and his skills. He wants for another to point out his value and call for his help. It is your job to sell him, to speak highly of him, until all are convinced and aware that he is the skillful professional they've been looking for. The vast majority of my letters are from women criticizing their laid back, quiet, slow, unassuming, undemanding, hardworking husbands for their carnal habits. These wives have forgotten to have a life of their own. So they spend their time trying to remake their husbands into dominant types because they admire leadership, authority, and clout. They don't have a clue about the demands that come from being married to a dominant, bossy man. Most of this book has been written to help young wives learn to honor, obey, and appreciate the steady man just as he is. If a wife dishonors her steady husband and takes control, he will most likely stay with her. They probably will not divorce. But her dishonor will cause him to lack the confidence to further his business opportunities. He will become satisfied with the mediocre because it involves no risk. He will know that he pulls the plow alone, that he has no helper. Yet, if that same man had married a thankful, creative woman who delighted in him and thought he was the smartest, wisest, most important fellow around, then he would have risen to the occasion in every area of his life. Many women believe Mr. Steady is mediocre and lacks strength and authority, when in actuality, Mr. Steady is the manly, steady fellow that lacks a good wife. Mr. Steady may take the trash out and always keep the area clean, yet his wife will be prone to take his goodness for granted. He will be in quiet contemplation much of the time. It will drive his wife crazy because she will long for him to share his deepest feelings. Didn't I tell you to stop? Stop. He will be in quiet contemplation much of the time. It will drive his wife crazy because she will long for him to share his deepest feelings. Thank you. And thoughts with her so she can feel love. He cannot. He might even cry during times of stress or intimacy. He is very, very slow to come to trust and open up to the woman he loves because he does not understand her. He will enjoy the company of others and be most comfortable spending time in small talk with whomever is around. Of the three types, he is the one who will most be liked by everyone. Mr. Steady, always in demand. People everywhere need him to fix a car, build a house, set up the computer, figure out what's wrong with their phone, heal their cancer, and the list goes on and on. You begin to wonder if you will ever have him all to yourself. The answer is no. He belongs to people. I think of that little meme that's been going around. She belongs to the streets, you know. That's Mr. Steady. He belongs to the people. When it is time or past time for some special time alone, take a vacation and leave the cell phones at home. The steady man is wonderful with those who are hurt, sick, or dying. He loves to comfort and seems to know what a person needs in times of great sorrow. His still, quiet presence brings peace. To the command man, this is nothing short of a miracle. A steady man thrust into a command man's position or job will be stressed and, in the end, unsuccessful. He is not meant to lead, but to support. He does not focus on the eternal picture, nor is he looking through the microscope, but he does respect both views as important. His vision is as a man seeing life just as it is. He can shift his sights to the sky and know there is more up there than he can see, and he wonders about it. Or he can stare into a muddy pond and appreciate that there is a whole world in there that he knows nothing about. In most of life, he is the bridge between the other two types of men. He is a very necessary expression of God's image. The wife's summary. A wife of Mr. Command Man can ruin her marriage by failing to honor, obey, and reverence her husband's authority and rule. B. The wife of Mr. Visionary can ruin her marriage by failing to follow, believe, and participate as an enthusiastic in her husband's dream and visions. C. The wife of Mr. Steady can ruin her marriage by failing to appreciate, wait on, and be thankful for her husband's pleasant qualities. What do you have in your mouth? Stop putting your dirty fingers in your mouth. You understand me, son? Successful wife summary. A. The wife of a command man can heal her marriage by becoming his adoring queen, honoring and obeying his every reasonable and unreasonable word. She will dress, act, and speak so as to bring him honor everywhere she goes. I definitely want that in a wife. I definitely want that in a wife. B. The wife of Mr. Visionary can heal her marriage by laying aside her own dreams and aspirations and embracing her role as helpmeet to her man, believing in him and being willing to follow him with joyful participation in the path he has chosen. I need that too. C. The wife of Mr. Steady can heal the marriage by joyfully realizing what a friend, lover, and companion she has been given and living that gratitude verbally and actively. When she stops trying to change him, he will grow. She can then willingly take up tasks that will fill her time and give her husband joy and satisfaction when he sees her productiveness. I need that too. I need all three of them. A, B, and C for the command man, the Mr. Visionary man, and the steady man. I need all those things that a woman can do. Time to consider. Who is your man? Make a list of your husband's traits, things that indicate which of the three types he most expresses. It may become a combination with one more dominant. Now, begin a list of things you can do that will set him free to be the man God made him to be. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, be them by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service, and be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Romans chapter 12, verses 1 through 2. Ask God to give you wisdom to see where you need change to be the perfect helpmeet for your divinely designed man. Keep in mind that most men are a little of all three types, but tend to be stronger in one. And that is chapter 8. Finally, man, it took me a long time to read that. And I was, yes, sir, stumbling over words. But thank you for y'all that kept up with me through the three men. Mr. Command Man, Mr. Visionary Man, and Mr. Steady Man. And that was chapter 8, Wisdom to Understand Your Man. Do you know who your husband or man is? That is very key. Do you know who he is? And can you adapt to him accordingly to who he is? This chapter and how this chapter went is what makes me think about that book, The 5 Love Languages, and why women want men to know what their love language is. But I think it's more important that a woman knows who her husband is, who her man is. And then once she knows who her man is, then she can realize the love that he's already showing her through the type of man that he is. But it's only a thought. It's only a thought. Man, that reading right there, that one took a bit out of me. I ain't gonna lie. That chapter 8 was long. But like I said, that was chapter 8 of Created to Be His Helpmeet by Miss Debi Pearl. Debi Pearl will come back next time with chapter 9, Finding Your Life in His, which is a hard thing for women to do. Finding your life in His. But I hope that it was something that you can learn and grow from in chapter 8. And we'll come back and keep diving into this book to see what else we can learn and grow from in these words. Hopefully, it's something that we can take and use to change our life. Until next time, man. Thank y'all for watching. Thank you to all the new subscribers. Thank you to all the new subscribers. Welcome, welcome. And welcome back to all the old subscribers, man. Keep pushing with me. Keep rocking with me, man. We're going to keep growing this, keep trying to grow this thing and keep trying to learn and grow and see, can we become better individuals, better brothers, sisters, fathers, husbands, wives, sisters, all the above, mothers, daughters, all the above. Till next time, man. Shilo out.
DJ out and Nana out.
Shalom, everybody.
Shalom, everybody.